I don't know if I'm live. This has never happened before. If you can hear me, what's going on, gang? What is happening, rotoscouts basketball fans? Oh, nope. Error occurred. There we go. What is happening, rotoscouts basketball fans? Weird start to the show there. I clicked the go live button and then things started whirring and whirring and whirring and then ultimately failed. Told me I had to try again. It's never happened before. Didn't know if you guys could hear me. Didn't know if I was sitting there on screen, looking all cross-eyed, trying to figure this thing out. But fortunately, clicking it again worked like a charm. Let's get this thing started before things change. I think that's kind of critical. 13 games. For having 13 games on deck, it's actually, right now, it's kind of tame. Not totally awful. Couple big questionables that we gotta take a look at. But overall, the known unknowns are not so bad. It's the unknown unknowns that are gonna kill us in about an hour. But 5 o'clock, we're starting a little late today. Appreciate the guys who are here hanging out already. Cujo Blue, always the first one in the door. Hope you're having a good Friday too, buddy. Happy Friday to everybody out there. I'm a loser till I win the millies here. Anthony Taylor's here. What's going on, guys? Nope, AK, I don't think I'm muted. Not on my end, anyway. I hope. Somebody tell 8-Game that it's not muted. Or at least, or tell me that it is. Hopefully you can hear me. I think you can. Hand pink waving back to you as well, 8-Game. I'll wait until I know you can hear me to congratulate you on your takedown. That was you, right? Yeah, that was you. Unless there's like 8-Game and ugly 8-Game out there. Not muted. All right, good. 8-Game, confirm when you can hear me so I can congratulate you on your win there, and I appreciate you. Well, I guess he can't confirm when he hears me. Start the stream over to everyone doesn't hear. Now I'm confused. You can hear me? Yeah? You said not muted, but I assume that means we're fine. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to, I think if you're having issues, probably just reload and YouTube will pick it back up. Again, I know that the people I'm saying that to probably can't actually hear me. But yeah, starting the stream over would be like a whole process, and I'd have to send everybody to another link and everything. So let's just try and do it the other way. And hopefully it won't be disastrous. But yeah, like I was saying, the known unknowns that we're dealing with on this slate are relatively tame. We've got a lot of interesting players already out. Starting there, players who are out: Trae Young, Jalen Duren, Jonathan Isaac, Jalen Suggs. Fultz still out as well for Orlando. LaMelo Ball. Nick Smith is doubtful. Johnny Davis, Delon Wright, Landry Shamet, Karis LeVert, Bam Adebayo still out. Tyler Hero still out. Haywood Highsmith still out. Gary Payton out. Chris Paul came up questionable during the day, so that could get interesting in Golden State. Jaden McDaniel, Zach LaVine, Kevin Durant, Grant Williams, Jeremy Grant, and Larry Markkinen all out. Questionables: Daniel Theis landed on the questionable list in the 4:30 update. Mark Williams is questionable. Daniel Gafford, Evan Mobley, Chris Paul, Jordan McLaughlin, Chris Duarte, and Malcolm Brogdon. So a couple key players in there coming up questionable right now. A couple of them we saw just very recently, so it's kind of easy pivots to get to, and or easy minutes changes, I should say. And then probables already confirmed is available: Joe Harris, Jalen McDaniels, Kristaps Porzingis, which is interesting, adding him back into that Celtics rotation. Caleb Martin available, Duncan Robinson probable, Alex Caruso probable, Torrey Craig, Jamal Murray, and Jordan Clarkson all probable. Seems like all those guys are going to go. That's my expectation. That's how it's projected right now. So all the questionables are in. All the probables are in. Obviously, all the outs are out. The doubtfuls are also out. Fanatic says, real quick, do I think Exum is a bust? Well, I haven't looked through the individual sim results yet. And I don't remember him standing out necessarily in his projection, but no, actually, he's looking all right. 23-point projection is not on the screen yet, but as a spoiler, he does rank, what's that, 4th by sim returns on the DraftKings slate at 4,500, and similarly on FanDuel. Not my favorite player in the world to get to, but so far this season, in 17 games, 11.5 minutes a night, 1.03 FanDuel points per minute, 1.02 DraftKings points. So, on the numbers and just as a value play, as a salary play, it's definitely holding up. I'll give it that much. He's projected for under a point per minute, so he's projected to underperform what he's already done so far for the season. Last time out, 25.7 minutes, 28.7 FanDuel points. That's probably not quite enough on a 13-gamer. But if he gets to 30 plus, 31, 32, somewhere in that neighborhood, at 4,300 on FanDuel, 4,500 on DraftKings. He's also point guard small forward on DraftKings, which is interesting positioning. So yeah, I think it's a little bit... it's a little bit difficult to say that he's a bust outside of just being like, don't like that guy. He's gonna not work out, right? All the numbers hold up that he's gonna work out. Travis Wyndham's here. What's going on, Trav? So 8Game, can you hear me yet? I want to congratulate 8Game. 8Game was very nice, whether he can hear me or not. Sent out a tweet with a screenshot, and I just want to congratulate him on the screenshot. $4,400 takedown. Chopped the top of the DraftKings, the big 100K to first DraftKings Showdown tournament last night. Had a lineup of Hunter Henry in the captain spot, Deontay Johnson, Zeke, Trubisky, Zappy, and Juju. Love it. Love to see it. Looked like a pretty broad chop. There's, a handful of people in the screenshot here. I see a Stochastic logo in there. No, the names that Mangone is in there from Run Pure, and that's just in the top few people on there. So it was a wide chop, but $4,400, not bad at all, and really appreciate the. There's 8Game. Yeah, congrats, buddy. That's awesome. Love to see it. I love that you had the logo on there. Really appreciate that, and really appreciate the tweet. But more than anything, congrats to you, man. That's an awesome takedown, and a little money in your pocket for the holidays. Not too bad, or a little bankroll builder, depending on how you're doing it. Oh, that was the $4.20 max. Okay. Right on. So that wasn't even the biggie. I didn't realize they had 100K up top for the for a $4.20 max over there. That's pretty good. Might have to look at that tournament. I got to start playing on DK a little bit more. A lot of FanDuel's buy-ins and payouts and everything have just been pretty disappointing of late. So, you can see Dante Exum right there. 4th on the board. This is sort of by DraftKings win rate for the entire slate. Not in the positional breakdown yet. Let me lower that a little bit. So Exum's holding up as a piece of value there. Alex Caruso, a lot more so on DraftKings. Just giving us a little bit on FanDuel, but relevant. Not crazy. At the top of the board on both sites, it looks like. With no Trae Young, DeJounte Murray just taking a big step forward. Tons of minutes, tons of opportunity there. 7,900 is the right price. Shooting guard, point guard, or it's a discounted price for his quality in that role. 32 minutes last time out, 41.5 fantasy points, 1.09 on the season per minute, 1.10 on DraftKings, 8,000 on DK, point guard, shooting guard. Looks fantastic on both sides. 5.8 points per dollar on FanDuel, 5.76 on DraftKings, giving you 39% win rate over there, 52.4% win rate on FanDuel. Looking like a critical part of the slate. He's going to be extremely highly owned, but it just looks like one of those pieces that's going to be pretty good chalk. So far, his win rates, his top ones are outpacing what his ownership looks like. So it's kind of a key way to look at it. But even if it gets upside down a little bit, even if he gets out to crazy ownership, he's still a key piece that you're going to want to have in a big chunk of lineups. And we've seen guys like that fail. But it's important, like Kyrie the other day, when he went out and had that clunker with Luka and everybody out. it absolutely can happen. But Murray's a very high-end player over the last couple of seasons, and this is a big opportunity for him to put up a pretty monster score. Cole Anthony, just 7,100 on the FanDuel slate and 6,800 on the DraftKings slate. That's not a bad price for a player putting up 1.11 DraftKings points per minute on the season, 1.08 on FanDuel. 31.9 minutes the last time out. Put up 37.4 fantasy points. Not bad. Bogdan picking up a little bit in that Atlanta rotation as well. 34% win rate on FanDuel, 29% on DraftKings. Anthony Simons, the opposite of the other day. Now I'm just going over the top. He went out and played 37.4 minutes the other night. I took a conservative approach, and he outplayed us by about 11 minutes, but they did announce before the game that he was going to be without restriction, so that kind of changed the nature of what that looked like. Going right to 35 with him. Might tick it down to 34 before the game starts, but I don't think I'm going to go lower than that. And then if Brogdon doesn't go, there's just a bunch of minutes to spread around to some of those guys. The last time Brogdon didn't play, it was who picked up minutes? It was Scoot and what's his face? Chris Murray picked up some minutes, I think. Where's Brogdon? Yeah, Brogdon played just 13 the other night. Scoot jumped from 22, 21 the last few games up to 26. And then Chris Murray ended up playing 21 minutes after not being available the last few games. Or just not playing. I didn't even look into that. But either way, those two guys pick up a few minutes. But ultimately, I think it's just also, the downstream guys, the Simonses of the world just pick up. Like he'll maybe jump to 36, 37. And some other guys might take a little bit of a jump. Do-Up Breath, also still no Ayton. On DraftKings, 19.14% win rate, 4,000 at center. He's priced at 4,400 on FanDuel, and it's just a 22-minute projection. We're not giving him a ton of fantasy points. So just 7% win rate on FanDuel on the single center site. Just better options there. I don't think we're extracting value at center necessarily today. On the FanDuel slate, on DraftKings, we absolutely are. James Harden lands pretty good on both sites. Daniel Gafford, questionable. Doesn't show tons of value on FanDuel right now, but 5,400 if he comes off the board, that's a chunk out of center on the DK slate. Kawhi showing more value than a little bit less actually than Harden on both sites. It's always interesting to look where these three Clippers are landing. I don't see Paul George just eyeballing the top of the board here, but I'm sure he's doing well. There he is. 14% on FanDuel, 8% on DraftKings. So Paul George bringing up the bottom between the three Clipper stars. But as we've talked about, any one of those guys on any given slate can take the reins. Oh, geez, I'm a loser till I win the Millie. Hope everything is okay, buddy. Yeah, good. Go, man. That was a couple minutes ago. I'm sure he's gone already, but sorry to hear about the emergency, bud. Yikes. Hopefully everything's okay with him. So, 13 game slate. Obviously, we're dealing with a ton to work with. Hold on, let me yell at the dog. Can you please go lie down? Come on. Come over here. Come on. It's not time for you. Nobody's talking to you. He's just staring at me. He's like, nope, I'm not going to listen. Downboard a little bit. Let's see, where we hit Kawhi. Booker with no KD. Not really shining through on FanDuel because he's priced up at 10.8 shooting guard only. So he's drawing a very good projection. 1.38 FanDuel points per minute on the season. 1.43 on DraftKings. On DK, he's 10.1. Both guard spots. Gives him a lot more value. 14.8% over there. I would not be surprised to see Jalen Booker in a winning line. Or Devin Booker. Jalen Booker. Whew. Brain is all over the place today. I would not be surprised to see Devin Booker in a winning lineup tonight. Just on the elite raw scoring potential and the fact that there's plenty of opportunity there tonight. So this is correct for what his numbers look like, what his projection is, what his standard deviation is, what his salary is, And it takes into account, the additional opportunity to a degree, but you could also say there could be a push toward additional where we don't want to necessarily pile it into the mean projection. It could be a night that trends toward a standard deviation and a half, multiple standard deviation upside. So yes, it's a 1.86, but he's a luxury item. He's one of those guys that you just you're using the value pieces to get to. That's why you play $4,300 Dante Exum with a 26-minute projection, because he can help you pay for Devin Booker, and you're just taking the shot that it's going to be one of those 2% of the time that he gets there, right? It's just a plug-and-play high-end item with a 75-point upside. Paulo Banchero looking pretty decent on FanDuel, 30% win rate, just 13.8 on DraftKings, but that's still pretty significant. On DraftKings, we peak a lot lower. We peak at 39% versus, I assume, the 52 is the highest on FanDuel. Yeah, 52, though it drops to 34 immediately after that on FanDuel. But it looks like there's more. Maybe not. Maybe it's just, as usual, just in a different order. Just feels like the DraftKings board drops more precipitously, right? We've got 3 guys in the 30s, only 1 guy in the 20s, and he's at 29.9. All right, so that's pretty stark. Right? This gap is really interesting. I actually want to see who those guys are. Well, I mean, granted, they're the 5 guys at the top of the board, dummy. So stupid. So it's Murray, Cole Anthony, Saddiq Bey, Dante Exum, Alex Caruso, Bogdan. Sorry, 6 guys. Those 6 guys are all 30% to 40% win rate on DraftKings. Everybody else is below 20. So if you want to talk about a core, if you're into the idea of I need a core, and what we're going to see a lot of in the Sims, I guarantee you right now, is these 6 guys in various configurations spread across a ton of lineups. That is good chuck. That is a good group of players. It's a good group of positional spread, pricing. Everybody's in the outside of DeJounte Murray, who's got star caliber upside tonight for 8,000. He's discounted. Bogdan arguably a little bit discounted. And then a couple just good mid-range players. Cole Anthony correctly priced at 68. Saddiq Bey probably correctly priced in another piece in the Atlanta rotation, 57. 45 for Exum, fine value play. 51 for Caruso, fine value play. And then you just have a bunch of guys through the teens here that are your mix and match guys, your stars, some value plays. As you get down the board, some more of your high-priced items drop down to like 7%. Joel Embiid, obviously plenty of appeal there. 3% for SGA. 2 and change for Luka. 1 and change for Jokic. But those are your luxury items. Those are the guys that you grab this core, grab one more piece of value, and plug one of those guys in. And your next piece of value comes from this range. $4,000 George Yang. $4,000 Duop Reith. That's interesting. On the FanDuel side, to put it in comparison, we've got the 52% on DeJounte Murray. We've got 2 guys in the 30s, but then we've got a pretty long trend of guys through the 20s. And then maybe the teens, it looks like drops to 10 and change quicker. And then we get into the single digits quicker. Just interesting how these things go site to site. Mark Williams is available tonight. Excellent. That's 1 down. Change that real quick. Oops. Wrong spot. I just want to update it on the site real quick. It's 5:19 already. Jeez. All right. Let me get over to Mark Williams in Magic starting. Black Hair Harris, Franz Wagner, Bankero, Batadze. Okay. All right. So let's get into some position by position here. Planning to punch out at 6, so we're got some time left. So top of the board, obviously, when we get to the guard spot is 3, 4, 5 of the 6 players that we were just talking about. But there's also positional eligibility, shooting guard, small forward in that group, point guard, small forward, point guard, shooting guard. There's decent positional spread through those guys. On both sites, everybody is showing at least some value. The least valuable piece across sites is Alex Caruso. Just a little bit more expensive on FanDuel, point guard and shooting guard versus the unique shooting guard small forward eligibility. Or excuse me, that's not unique. I was thinking the point guard shooting guard, point guard small forward. The shooting guard small forward eligibility for 51 gives them a little bit more value on that DraftKings side. Assuming he's out there, perfectly fine to go to 0.95 FanDuel points per minute, 0.93 DraftKings points per minute. Definitely just prefer him as a pretty critical looking piece on DraftKings. Simons, I touched on before. Again, just giving him right back to 35 minutes. He played 37 and changed the other night. Looks great on both sites. 19% win rate on DraftKings. 27.5% win rate on FanDuel, shooting guard and point guard. Harden at 22 on FanDuel. 18.5 on DraftKings. 7,900 over there. Point guard and shooting guard. So far, he's putting up 1.06 DraftKings points per minute on the season, 1.05 FanDuel points. Got him at 37 minutes tonight, so we're right in that range, maybe a little. What are we a little higher than it? Minutes and numbers and everything took so long today. 26 teams in action, like 225 or so individual players to look at. It's just way too much. So I've got Harden right around. I've got him a 1.06 on a FanDuel scale. So right around what he's done. I've got Kawhi at 1.21, a little ahead. And Paul George actually a little bit ahead as well. It's a spot where we'll pick up a couple of possessions. You could argue that Harden's maybe a point and change low. But I don't want to give him too much. Like I said, he's right around those marks. If I give him too much, he ends up landing in some sims a little bit too much. And I don't know that it's necessary yet. Booker, again, looks great as a pay-up item. Just a little bit expensive on the FanDuel site, cutting into his win rate. Mamba says, where's the value under 4K? Not sure you can get to Embiid without it. Yeah, under 4K, I haven't really spotted anybody, to be honest, so far. I don't know if across positions. Let's go back to the full board. No, this is not. I forgot. It's in decimals. It's going to get all messed up. I know that you can filter this. Yeah, that's a sticky that's a sticky bargain bin on DraftKings today. Gallo at 13.5%, 18-minute projection. The other night he played 17 and at 17.4, put up 20 FanDuel points. On a 13-gamer, 20 FanDuel points, even at that 3,800 is probably not enough. Kenrich Williams showing 10% win rate for 32. I don't love that one. 16-minute projection. Cason Wallace with a 20-minute projection. Anthony Black with a 26-minute projection, both at 5. And then you just completely fall off the earth. So right now, the only 4 options below 4,000 from what I'm seeing here are these 4 guys at the top. And none of them looks particularly good. It is a good point, Mamba. We'll see how much he ended up coming up. Joel Embiid and the other pricey stars in those top lineups. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a tighter slate than we've had so far. Who would open up? Is there anybody on this board that would jump into minutes? If Chris Murray picks up another, if I give him like 25, 26, he jumped to, what did I say he jumped to before? He jumped in and played 21 the other night. All right, Jeremy Grant's already out. If they also lose Brogdon, I just think there's minutes to spread around. So I think I would have to take him up into maybe not as high as I said, maybe not 26, but like 22, like around what he played the other night. That might give him enough. Right now, not showing anything. Small forward, power forward, 3,300. But if he jumped to... He's only a 0.59 per minute player. So bad. Yeah, I don't want to sell that too hard. Especially because you might just get him at the 16 minutes that he's projected for, where he's showing nothing. But that might be one more as I'm just looking across this board for guys that we know about situations right now. I don't see anybody else that's situationally at least on the radar to see an uptick. Yeah, good call. But you do have a bunch of guys in the fours. Right, as soon as you jump to, let's call it 45, right? If you just make that even 42, 4,000, you got $4,500 Dante Exum, you've got Duop Reith at 4,000 at the center spot, you've got $4,500 KBD, $4,000 George Niang, Joey Ingles for 42, even hanging on to a little bit of value there, Gary Trent for 41. Some of these guys are not the most favored players in the world by any means. Corey Kispert, capable of giving you a decent game from time to time, 4,300. They're just showing, sub 10% win rates. But you do have some to work with in the low fours. So it just depends where we want to put that threshold. It's not a total disaster for value on DraftKings, but it's definitely tighter than we've seen recently. Until, 11 things change and a lot of $3,000 guys that I didn't spot open up. Continuing on through guard here. Trying to get through. So your next tier after that core of guys, you've got Harden, you've got Booker, you've got Simons. All three showing pretty good returns on DraftKings at their various prices. Only Book not really cracking through the FanDuel one. If I give him a couple more points, he would get there. And like I said, I think it is trending toward a strong performance. So I'm going to want to have some Devin Booker anyway, just on raw scoring potential. Then you get a couple mid-tier, value-ish type guys in Brandon Miller, Gary Harris, Eric Gordon. Gordon also has the opportunity to do well tonight. It's just the Eric Gordon of it that holds him down most of the time. 34.5 minutes the other night, 25.8 FanDuel points. 0.78 FanDuel points per minute on this season, 0.80 DraftKings points. If you've ever played Eric Gordon, you know that this is exactly what we're getting from him tonight. I'll probably have tons. He's a 20.09% winner on FanDuel. He's 11.6% on DraftKings. He's correctly priced. I prefer the multi-position eligibility on DK, but I can't ignore that he's only 5,500 on FanDuel. That's just a great price for a player who's going to have endless minutes and opportunity if he wants to take it. Donovan Mitchell, another star, arguably a little underpriced at 99, 1.31 FanDuel points per minute at 99 when you're charging me 10.8 to get to Devin Booker. It's 1.38 versus 1.31. That's not a staggering difference when we're at that level, and this is a big price difference. I'm actually surprised Donovan Mitchell, I shouldn't say it that way because he's essentially doubling up the win rate of Devin Booker. It's just that he doesn't play well against this mid-tier extreme value on the FanDuel slate at the guard position. But head-to-head, that's a good option in terms of price. I don't know what the ownership looks like. You've also got Terry Rozier, Paul George right there. They're both pulling even more win rate at 83 and 84. All those guys look very similar on the DraftKings slate. Mitchell for 9, pulling an 11.45% win rate versus, again, 10-1. It's a big price difference. There is, the opportunity is obviously in Devin Booker's favor, but if all the ownership and everything goes there, it's a reasonable pivot. Again, we're not worried exclusively about individual ownership. It's, as I've said a number of times, it's the full picture. I put it in the Discord the other day. It's a macroeconomic question, not a microeconomic question. So it's never about this guy versus that guy, but it is about this guy versus this guy at this price and what that buys you from this other pool of high potential value guys or stars. right? So it's all about the full puzzle and how it comes together. It's just kind of a shorthand to say, like, all right, he's way cheaper. Potentially, this guy's going to be more highly owned because of the situation of it. Devin Vassell showing 6.6% on DraftKings, not showing us anything on FanDuel. 6,500, 31 minutes, 6,400 multi-guard spot on DraftKings. Picking up a little bit of flexibility in, I guess, price-based value over there that he's not showing on FanDuel. Tyus Jones, a 6 and change percent win rate on DraftKings. Who's differentiated site to site? Let's see. OG pulling a little bit better on FanDuel. 33 minutes, 61 small forward shooting guard over there versus 61 shooting guard only on DraftKings. Played 39 the other night, put up 45.6 FanDuel points. Capable of getting to that type of a level. He's on the season 0.86 FanDuel points per minute, 0.88 DraftKings points per minute. Just an also-ran type guy, not a guy to prioritize by any means. A 10% winner on FanDuel, half that on DraftKings. But a guy, if you're sitting there with 6,100 in your pocket and an open shooting guard position on either side or a small forward on FanDuel, perfectly viable plug-and-play option. They're in a spot tonight. I believe they're picking up. And not as much as I would have thought off the top of my head. 1.6 uptick for them in possessions. So a little bit of an uptick. SGA, just a sub 2% winner on FanDuel, basically double 1.49 to 3.05 across sites. He's 11.5 at point guard only. Just a difficult price point on FanDuel. Phenomenal player, but difficult price point. Luxury item, but there are luxury items at the position that I like a little bit better that are showing through slightly better. I think he's just in that mix, though. Right? You could say that Luka, SGA, Darren Fox down here. Fox isn't coming through much. Yeah. All these 5-figure guys who are showing single-digit win rates, you can just throw into the mix and take any one of them out of the hat or take whatever guy at the salary and plug them into that lineup as your last man, and you're doing yourself well. The guys who are a little bit less like that, like Scotty Barnes, Jalen Brunson in the high 8s for Scotty Barnes, low 8s for Jalen Brunson, 3% winners on FanDuel, just 0.1 at 88 and 86 on DraftKings. A little bit more value on FanDuel. But they don't necessarily fill that role as much because as good as they are, and they've both been very good this season, 1.30 FanDuel points per minute for Scotty Barnes, 1.09 for Jalen Brunson, 1.28, 1.14 across on DraftKings. They're not 75, 80 point upside players on the vast majority of nights. Maybe they get there on a total outlier, 0.000 something percent returns kind of a night, or percent probability type night. Then they're slate breakers, obviously, but there's just more dependability of upside, more realistic projection of upside, however you want to put it, around the obvious stars, and that's what you're paying for. So that's why I consider them a little bit better in that role than paying like a little bit of an overpay for like a Scotty Barnes. If you had Scotty at, at the Jalen Brunson price on FanDuel, this would be looking a hell of a lot better. And he is playable. They're both playable. Less so on DraftKings. Darius Garland not showing as much on either site. Spencer Dinwiddie, 6% on FanDuel. I don't even think I want to have him that much. Just a disappointing guy. I think I said about him the other day, just like, I think I highlighted whatever he had done the day before, and it looks similar to this. 28 minutes, 25 FanDuel points. That is just Spencer Dinwiddie in a nutshell. 0.94 on the season per minute, 0.98 on DraftKings. Capable of getting us there. 7,000 is an okay price for him. Multi-position eligible. 4.62 points per dollar on FanDuel. Capable of getting you there on FanDuel, but just a guy I have very little faith in most nights. 6% win rate doesn't make him a priority by any means. And you don't have to worry about him at all on DraftKings. 0.07% win rate, 7,600. Just too expensive over there, even with the multi-guard eligibility. A lot of guys threaded through here that we didn't touch on. But again, 13 games coming up on 5:34. Still got to talk about forward, center, and get over to the sim results. But like Freddie Van Vliet, I took him down from 40 to 39. He finally played less than 40 minutes the other night, 37.8. So I felt like it was fair to take him a minute away from him. But just the biggest expectation of minutes any given night until something changes. And he's a good player, 0.98 FanDuel points per minute, 1.01 DraftKings points per minute, but not really crashing through the top of the sim returns on DraftKings, 1.25%. 8%, just 7,900 on the FanDuel slate at point guard only. A little bit more value than the 8,400 on DraftKings. Darren Fox, I'm surprised there's not more of a site-to-site difference in that, 10-2 on FanDuel, just 1.59, 96 on DraftKings, 1.18. Just in a relative value sense, I'm surprised he's not showing us a little bit higher, like 2% something, outpacing the FanDuel one. Malik Monk, just 1.7 on FanDuel, 0.88 on DraftKings. Nothing really to talk about there. Anthony Black is in that starting lineup, 3,800, 5% on DraftKings. Did he come up in our 38, 37? Casey Wallace and Anthony Black? Yeah, they were the 5% guys. So both of those guys, if you're looking for your sub fours, are showing 5% win rates. And realistic minute projections, I think. So that's what we're working with right now. I'll pull the chat up as you guys are probably screaming at me that something changed. Money Crockett, what's going on? Money Crockett says, what's up, everybody? Appreciate the channel. Shout out for the consistent analysis. Been following for a year. Appreciate the channel. Appreciate you right back, Money Crockett. Thanks for saying. Thanks for jumping in and saying hello. Don't remember your name popping up in various shows. Is that the first time you chimed in chat? Either way, welcome. There's a bunch of people who watch and don't say anything at all, and that's perfectly fine. If you get a chance, hit that like button. Power saying, only thing I can see is Wade extra minutes if Mobley out. I assume that was part of the $3,000 value question. It's a good catch. That would be another one. Ducking 3. Batum, my guy, just needs 26, 27 fantasy points. Where was Batum? Let's see. Nicholas Batum. 1.32 on FanDuel. Oof, not really getting there on DraftKings. He is cheap. I'll give him that. 4,300. So 0.70 per minute player. You'd like to see that a little bit better. Got him at 26 minutes. Yeah, not really cracking through. He's actually showing more value slightly on FanDuel for 47. Probably just because of the multi-position, I would guess. 14 games, 24 minutes a night. Played 32.6 the other night, put up 23.7. If you get a little bit better than this, like if he gave you, I'm not going to say it, what was his most recent? Now we're going down a Nick Batum rabbit hole. It's exactly what we needed. I just want to... Let's see how interesting can we make Nick Batum as a value play here. And it's not even like he's not even a $3,000 guy, is he? Yeah, 47, 43. Let me pull up the Clippers from last year. .73 across 1,700 minutes last year. Yeah, he's right about who he is. I was hoping I could find like a 0.8 to justify telling you that he might look a little bit better. This is probably right around who he is. You're probably getting like 26 minutes. You're probably getting 17 to 24 FanDuel points, or similar on DraftKings. I'm not wild about that one. But I don't want to talk you out of it too hard. If you get 26, 27, you're on the high side for sure. That would be like a fantasy point per minute night from him. Not incapable of doing that, right? That's within his range. That would be... Where did I have him? Like 19? So that would be... Like 2 standard deviations? Ducky says, I feel it's my hot take. Sure is. But yeah, I mean, look, 2 standard deviations is on the board for any of these players. He's just not in a rate sense, in a what he normally does sense. Like his range is small. But he could get you to that level, and then you got to hope that for the price that is enough. I just think 13-game slate, if he was in the 3s, you can make a stronger case for it. Like Gallo here, right? Gallo's got a similar projection, a lower projection. For 38, power forward and center, he's coming up at a 13.5% win rate. They are not all that dissimilar in terms of who they are, what their minutes are. Gallo's at just 18 minutes versus the 26 minutes, but he's a 0.96 per minute player on FanDuel, 0.98 per minute on DraftKings. So his range of outcomes just grows a little bit. So like a 2 standard he doesn't need a 2 standard deviation game. He probably needs a 1 and change, a little bit bigger range of outcomes. And again, I don't know that even a 2 standard deviation game from Batum gets you there necessarily, because that puts him in the mid to high 20s, like you're saying. And for that money, I don't know that that's enough value. Anyway, let's get into the forward spots where we can talk more Nick Batum. I was waiting to see, like, accidentally I had screwed something up and Nick Batum was up to the top with like a monster win rate. Sadiq Bey, another piece of Atlanta. Bogdan, another piece of Atlanta. 32.9% winner for Bey on DraftKings at 57, 22.5% for 58 on FanDuel. Just looking like a good piece. 36.7 minutes the last time out, put up just 30.9 FanDuel points. It's a little bit of an underperformance. He's a 0.82 per minute player, 0.84 on DraftKings. But plenty of upside for the money. Exum we've talked about. Caruso we talked about. Chetty with a 30-minute projection in San Antonio. 4,200 small forward, power forward on FanDuel, showing a 27% win rate. On DraftKings, just 18%. Not my favorite guy to get to in the world. Played 32 the other night. Put up 29 FanDuel points. 0.74 per minute. 0.76 per minute on DraftKings. A playable piece of $4,000 value on both sides. Kawhi, decent returns on both sites. As I've said a bunch of times, I think we're just rotating at max 2 of those 3 Clippers. I don't think we get many nights where all 3 of them... I certainly don't think we get many nights where all 3 of them hit ceiling scores. And I think we're just going to pretty frequently get one guy underperforming slightly what his mean should be. It's just difficult to say which one's going to be which. They all sim out pretty well. Jalen Williams, 15% winner on DraftKings. 0.92 DraftKings points per minute, both forward spots for 6,200. Not bad. On FanDuel, not really showing you the same. 6,800 small forward and shooting guard. Just a 5% winner, a 4.5% win rate. Still a playable piece over there, but not really putting up as much as a 0.90 FanDuel point per minute player. Just trying to keep an eye on these news pop-ups. Nothing. Niang, nothing on the FanDuel slate at all, but at 4,000 on the DraftKings slate, showing us a 14.5% win rate. Just a very cheap piece over there. Playing 22.6 minutes a night. I've just got him at 23. The other night, saw a little bit of an uptick, 27.5. Put up 18.5 fantasy points. Not a crazy high ceiling, but the price is okay. The results in the Sims are fine. But again, on FanDuel, you just, right now, anyway, don't need it. There might be minutes there for him if things change, but I don't think we're seeing much more than, maybe he gets to this level, the 27. Several pieces of Orlando are landing decently. Going up against Detroit, probably the worst team in basketball. 30.3% win rate is the highest point between the two guys, between Paolo and Joe Ingles, who are 2 very different plays. 8,100, 4,100. Power forward, small forward, shooting guard, small forward on FanDuel. 83, 42, power forward only, both forward spots. They look really similar in the sim returns on DraftKings. 13.8, 13.6. On FanDuel, Paolo looks like a very key piece. 8,100 is a good price for him. 1.12 FanDuel points per minute, played 37.7 the other night, put up 53.7. You get that kind of a game, we're close to what we need from Paolo at 81. Gallo I touched on before. Again, another guy, just 3,800, one of your $3,000 guys, one of the 4 guys, and was the highest returns, 13.5%. But again, it's not a excellent piece. We're talking about an 18-minute projection. Something changes, we get a few additional minutes, he can crest up to a pretty good score. He's a 0.98 per minute scorer, so he's got that ability. Franz Wagner, another piece in Orlando. 13.4% winner on FanDuel, 11% winner on DraftKings. So he looks basically similar to where Banchero and Ingles are. About half the value of Banchero on FanDuel, 13% versus 30%. It's an $8,100 to $7,700 dip, but you lose the power forward positioning from player to player. It's the same in terms of the positioning, power forward versus small forward only on DraftKings, 83 to 79. The value is a lot closer between those two players on DK. Bojan on the Detroit side of that game, 9% winner on DraftKings, 9% winner on FanDuel, 9 and change on both sides. Put up 44.3 FanDuel points in 32.1 minutes the other night. Reasonably priced. In his 2 games, he's playing at a 1.24 FanDuel point per minute level, 1.26 DraftKings point per minute level. That'll come down if I'm remembering his rates correctly. I don't think it's quite that high over time. It's not out where we have him projected, let's say. I've got him at, let's do that math in my head. .94. So that's probably about where he's been. Let's see, where was he last year? I'm so brain dead. I looked this up earlier today, too. Yeah, 0.92 across 1,700 minutes last year. So I'm pretty comfy saying at 0.94 is about who he is. Even with this uptick, you could give him another point if you wanted to. Put him into the 30s on FanDuel. Give him 31 on DraftKings. That's fine. You're not going to really see a massive change. Maybe crests over 10% win rates on both if you did that. But a reasonable is who he is for the money at a $6,300, $6,500 price point. The Cams, Cam Johnson showing 28.2% win rate on FanDuel, 9.1 on DraftKings, 6,500 on DraftKings versus 6,000 on FanDuel. Also has multi-forward eligibility on FanDuel. And then, where's Cam Thomas? Is he not a forward on him? There he is. Shooting guard, small forward on FanDuel, just a 1.6% win rate. His point guard, shooting guard on DraftKings, 0.2% win rate. So Cam Thomas not showing us the value that he was showing us the other day when he went out and played 26.9 FanDuel minutes, 26.9 minutes and put up 3.7 FanDuel points. That is one of the more disastrous performances for fantasy that we will see all season. Cam Thomas the other night. He started that game 0 for 4 with 3 turnovers and did not recover. Just complete disaster. But just correctly priced 65 on FanDuel, 73 on DraftKings with the guard only eligibility. Just takes him almost completely off the board. So Cam Johnson between the two showing significantly more value on both sides. Denny, 30.8 minutes the other night, 30.6 FanDuel points, right on par with who he is, 0.98 FanDuel points per minute, 0.99 DraftKings points. 17% winner on FanDuel, just 8% on DraftKings. There's a little run of those types. Paul George, 14.3% FanDuel, 8% DraftKings. Wemby, 14.9% FanDuel, 7% DraftKings. All three of those guys can be played on both sides. totally solid expectation of minutes. One established star in Paul George. That's at a 1.11 FanDuel points per minute, 1.15 DraftKings points per minute this season. And again, we want to be conservative with our approach, I think, to those 3 Clippers stars right now. But we definitely want to have shares of all 3 of them. And then Wemby, an emerging star, 1.41 FanDuel points per minute, 1.38 DraftKings points per minute. It's probably fair to call him a star already, but let's call him an emerging star. It is what he is. We're talking about 19 NBA games in his career, but I think the trajectory is pretty well established. And then Denny, just a solid mid-range player, 5,900 both forward spots on FanDuel, 6,100 both forward spots on DraftKings. Was on his way to a better game, it looked like, early than this, but is capable of a little bit of additional upside. Potentially additional minutes. I've got him at 30 right now. If Gafford comes off the board, it's not a direct positional thing, but it was just on the idea that some minutes would be available to spread around. Might see him crest up a little bit, but just looks like a reasonably good play on both sides. Julius Randle, another guy kind of in that group, only 2.5% winner on FanDuel, 6.8% on DraftKings. Another guy who's just playable, correctly priced at 88, 87 across sites. Patty Williams not showing much on FanDuel, a little bit on sub 5, but clinging to a little value at 5,200 on DraftKings. DeRozan, another piece in Chicago, better on FanDuel, 13.7% winner. Piece of the puzzle on the FanDuel slate for sure. Sub 5%, but playable on DraftKings. Koulibaly, 4,900 at small forward on FanDuel, not showing much. A little bit more, 3.9% winner on DraftKings, 4,500. Something to keep in mind in that value conversation. Let's look for some of the differentiated FanDuel plays. Draymond, 16.5% winner on FanDuel, just 3% on DraftKings as we go down the board. Josh Okogie, nobody's idea of a good play most nights. 4,400 with the idea of minutes. All right, a lot of missing pieces for Phoenix. Got him at 28 minutes tonight. 12.8% winner, small forward and shooting guard, eligible for 44 on the FanDuel slate. 49 on DraftKings, small forward only. Takes him off the board for you. You don't have to worry about getting a disappointing game from Josh Okogie. On FanDuel, we're going to unfortunately have a few shares of the upcoming disappointing game from Josh Okogie. Kuz, sub 10%, but holding on to a decent piece of value there. 88,000 on FanDuel, both forward spots. Still underpriced on FanDuel, in my opinion. Has been playing really well overall. 1.21 FanDuel points per minute on the season, 1.26 DraftKings points per minute on the season. Not a great performance the last time out. 32.1 in 33.6 isn't going to get it done. But I think he's still a little bit underpriced. Here's Batum. That's where we'll call the Batum line here. Again, 0.47% winner on DraftKings. You can throw him into the mix. But would I rather have 16 minutes of Caleb Houston for 33? I might, based on where these returns are. Scrolling down the board. Nobody really. Oh, nope, there's one. Jimmy Butler. 26.9% winner on FanDuel because they've still got him at 8,700, which is absurd. Both forward spots. Just put up 36.4 and 35.4 minutes. That's a disappointing game from Jimmy with no Bam, etc., etc. 9,300 on DraftKings, not showing us any kind of value at all. Playable, luxury item over there. Underpriced on FanDuel for the opportunity. 3% winner for Scotty Barnes on FanDuel. We talked about him before. 1% for Jaren Jackson. Usually we see Jaren Jackson at better numbers than this, but 8,500, just 1.2% on FanDuel, 0.07 on DraftKings. Jeez. 8,000 power forward center over there. PJ Washington ended up just playing 29 minutes the other night, even with Mark Williams out. I was actually expecting him to play more than that. We were talking about it a little bit in the Discord that night, and not necessarily. He played 2x his normal expectation was what I'm saying. He saw no uptick in minutes in that situation the other night. Nobody else really. 1.5% winner for Senti. PJ, by the way, at a 0.43 on FanDuel, 0.05 on DraftKings. Not much there. Let's jump to center. And then we'll take a look at some lineups real quick. 5:55. I'm already going to be overtime, but that's okay. Several names we've already talked about dominating the top of the board here. Looks like center value plays on DraftKings definitely going to be the approach today. Between $4,000 to Reith, $5,400 for Danilo, center only now. Interesting. Clint Capella, $6,000. It's a good price for a player like Clint Capella. 1.18 DraftKings points per minute. Oh, I read. That's why he's center only. I read Daniel Gafford as Danilo Gallinari. I was like, when did Gallo go to center only? So Gallo a little further down the board, 3,800 power forward center, 13.5. That was Gafford at the top, 5,400 center only, 18%. Still questionable as the last time I saw. Let's see. DSJ, Dennis Smith Jr. out. Kristaps Porzingis, no minutes limit. And that's all the news that's been fit to print for the last little bit, which is good. Getting into like the interesting guys, if we can find any of them. Okongwu and Capella both just look playable on DraftKings. 6,000 versus 4,900. 28 and 26 minutes projected. 12% win rate for Okongwu at 4,900. Not bad. Not showing the same number on FanDuel. 5,300 center only on the single center site. Just a sub 5% win rate. Playable, but not a key piece of value. Capella looks like a better option on FanDuel at 11.6% winner. I think we get more spend at center on FanDuel a little bit, it looks like. Where DraftKings, you're just getting, a lot of the value guys into some of the mids. Nick Claxton at 66. Zubac at 55. It's a pretty decent price for Zubac. 1.04 DraftKings points per minute this season. 8.8% win rate. Not bad. Orlando Robinson with a 30-minute projection showing you an 8.3% win rate on DraftKings. He's been at 1.12 DK points per minute so far this season. Where do I have him? I've got him, I believe, lower than that. I've got him at just 0.97. So the opportunity to outperform, again, his talent level. Wemby looks great on FanDuel. Less so on DraftKings, but very, very playable for 8,800, 7.2% win rate. Embiid, just under 5% winner on FanDuel. Among the high-priced stars, that's the highest one I think we've seen among like the 5-figure guys. Makes him pretty playable over there. 6.9% winner on DraftKings. 11.7. Arguably a good price for Joel Embiid. He's putting up 1.77 DraftKings points per minute. Jokic is putting up 1.83. He's priced at 12. Just a 1.86% win rate. Basically 3 times the win rate for a few $100 less for Joel Embiid at the same position. Either one of those guys can bend the slate to their will on any given night. We know that. You want to have shares of both of those players. Despite single-digit win rates, these are guys that you want to, again, you use these values to get to. Randall, Draymond, we touched on before. Jokic at 2.35% on FanDuel, by the way. 1.80 per minute over there. Jared Allen, 8.6% winner on FanDuel, center and power forward. You also get Draymond at power forward. You also get Wemby at power forward. You have Gallo at both forward spots, but he's not really valuable on the FanDuel site. So you got a little bit of mix and match potential, even among just some high-priced or, high to mid type guys on FanDuel. A little bit more flexibility, I'm going to say, on DK. You got Gallo, you've got $3,200 Kenrich Williams, who again, 10% win rate. Just a 13-point projection, just a 16-minute projection. It's just price-driven. He's $3,200. And on a day where we're talking about specifically there are no $3,000 guys so far, that's if you want to bite the bullet. It's not like we're getting a $3,200 guy who has a 40-50% win rate like we see with those value guys most of the time. This is very limited, even as a total salary dart. So that's not one to get over carried away with. Not that I think anybody was rushing out there to put Kenrich Williams in their lineups. Mo, center only on DraftKings, 4,800. Center only on FanDuel as well. Just a 0.05% winner on FanDuel, 3.5%, a little bit more on the bone there for Mo Wagner on DraftKings. Siakam just kind of looking like who he is, basically correctly priced, 84 on FanDuel at power forward, 0.98% winner. On DraftKings, 8,100 power forward and center, 3% winner, a little bit better over there. Jakob Poeltl, 1.8% winner for 5,900 center only on DraftKings. Massive price difference, 71 on FanDuel, 0.43% winner. 1.08 on the season, but a couple recent lower end performances. 27.6 minutes the other night, 22.7 FanDuel points. Şengün showing us a little bit better on FanDuel. Finally, we get to somebody who's better on FanDuel. 4.8% winner on FanDuel, 1.39%, 9,100 on DraftKings. 89 on FanDuel, a little bit better of a buy over there. 43.7 FanDuel points in 35.4 minutes the other night. Good option. Site-to-site differences. Sabonis pretty much always comes up on FanDuel at least a little bit. 10,000. One of the lower cost, like high-end guys, if that makes sense. Chet also at 83. Despite just being a 1.04% win rate, that seems like a playable piece. He's center only. I wish he had power forward eligibility. Like, I know it's not necessarily warranted, but if you just slid it to him, that would probably give his value a little bit of a goose. 1.29 per minute on the season. Playable, but doesn't look great on either side. But Sabonis definitely looking better on FanDuel. 5.81% win rate. 64.6 FanDuel points in 36 minutes the other night. That's your very good night from Domantas Sabonis. But he is very capable of going out and delivering that against this Phoenix team. Mobley not showing a ton on either site. Cat, nothing. Nobody all that interesting, I don't think, down the board here. Damn it. $3,900 Drew Eubanks still clinging to some value on FanDuel. He put up 9.9 FanDuel points in 17 minutes the other night. That's your basement performance. It's basically half of his mean projection. I don't know what the ceiling really looks like on this player. It's just price and position driven on FanDuel at 39. On DraftKings at 43, you can see he has absolutely no value whatsoever. Vooch, 7.77% winner on FanDuel, 8,000. Number people 777 might like it. Nothing really to speak of for him on DraftKings, 0.02 for 8,300. Not a great play. 1.04 FanDuel points per minute, though, for 8,000 at the center spot, giving us a little bit of value. If we resort, just because it's important on FanDuel. That puts him, sixth? So your top center options on the FanDuel slate: Draymond, Wemby, Capella, Eubanks for value only, and Jarrett Allen before you get to Vooch. Vooch and Capella, both center only. Not that much daylight between 11.6% win rate and 7.7. You can look at the ownership and see which one looks like a better play overall. And then you get, let's leave Eubanks out of the conversation. Everybody understands that he's a value piece. But you get the potential to play Jarrett Allen, Wemby, and Draymond, all three at power forward. So it just provides a little bit of flexibility, which is nice to see among these, these top six options. At similar win rates, though, you've also got Reith, Gafford, Goga on FanDuel, less so on DraftKings. And then you get down to some more spendy type options. Sabonis, Embiid, Jokic. Whoops. Let me do this. Yeah, Paul C. I was right there with you on a lot of Cam Thomas shares. Power, I'm not against the idea of a Cam Thomas, bounce back type of performance, and as you mentioned with Dennis Smith out, potentially getting a pocket full of additional minutes there. So maybe see him take a little bit of a jump over these low end sim results, but ultimately it's just he's correctly priced right now. But obviously has shown us, some ability to score in bunches and be a very good option. So keep an eye on projections where they go in the next little bit. 605. Going to take a quick look at these ace mine lineups because I do have some updating to do in projections, and then I still got to build my own lineups for tonight. And here we go. As usual, sims are courtesy of our pals over at AceMind. AceMind.io. Calibrate, dominate, win, as they say. It's right here. I didn't have that memorized. It wasn't a plug. I mean, it was a plug, but it wasn't like a written plug. I just noticed that it's up on their logo there. So, DraftKings first. Jake Swales. Why do you love Franz Wagner tonight? Why do you love Franz Wagner tonight? He was, got goldfish memory. He was looking pretty good, wasn't he? I think I remember saying that Franz was looking good. 13% winner on FanDuel, 11% winner on DraftKings. Reasonably good option on both sites. And I think that's just a good, appealing spot. I didn't really touch on the game environments. 234.5. These are from like an hour and change ago. Atlanta, Philly, 234.5, but a 9-point spread in Philly's favor. 9.5-point spread between Washington and Brooklyn. It might have changed a little bit. 239-point total. 236.5 between Golden State and OKC. That's where we're seeing some pieces from that game showing some value. Last game of the night, Dallas and Portland, a 231.5-point total. Dallas favored by 8. And then a bunch of games in like the 220s, the mid to high 220s. Orlando's favored by 11 over Detroit in that one, but 228.5-point total. And a lot of fairly priced, like good mid-range options is definitely appealing in that game. So I'll have a bunch of spread across a lot of lineups. Minnesota, Memphis, 213.5, lowest total on the board. 5.5-point spread. I don't really remember seeing anybody. I remember seeing like Jaren Jackson, Karl Anthony Towns, both very low. I don't remember seeing anybody from either of those teams looking particularly good as we went through those sim returns. Not surprising. Sacto and Phoenix, 235-point total, 2-point spread. That one was obviously showing some interesting pieces on all sides. So looking at some of these lineups, this is the DK board. As we talked about, getting some reasonable value at center. A couple Embiids creeping up to the top here, though. That's good to see. Fair amount of Nick Claxtons mixed in there. And then the util spots picking up the value centers as well. Orub, Duop Reef, Zubac, Gafford in a lot of those spots. Okongwu. So it's like value for the most part. Value play at center. Double that up at the util spot. DeJounte Murray, not surprising in a ton of these at the point guard spot. And a little bit of shooting guard as well. Definitely worth mentioning. Cole Anthony, piece from that Orlando game. Bogdan, also landing at shooting guard. A little bit at small forward as well. So it's like value. Mostly spend. Mid. Nobody here really outside of the ones where we get Paul George and DeJounte Murray here because we got Gary Trent, Dante Exum type guys over there. Exum, interestingly, not as crazy all over the board as you might have expected. He's here. Yeah, he's getting, all right, a little bit more exposure to him in the guard spots, it looks like. There's a couple more shares here. So he is sprinkled through some of these, but it's not like every single lineup like you might have thought. Pretty decent amount of spend at the power forward spot. So it looks like small forward, we're getting like good mid options. Some Bogdan in there, some Caruso, some Miller. A little bit of value plays as well, though. Some DDR. But also some some Dante Exum, some Joe Ingles, some Koulibaly. This is kind of a grab bag at small forward. Power forward looks like it gets mostly outside of this Niang lineup. It's mostly pretty spendy mid-range. A lot of Sadiq Bey landing there. some Julius Randle shares, some Kawhi Leonard, and Paolo, obviously. And then we're back to spending at guards when we get to the guard-only spot. This one had Cole Anthony, Gary Harris, and then we get to Donovan Mitchell, Cade Cunningham, Brandon Miller is a decent start, DeJounte Murray over here, Donovan Mitchell and DeJounte Murray in this lineup, but you also get Koulibaly and Kamara. And then not a bad amount to spend at forward here either. Individual forward, a lot of Kawhi. Kawhi coming up quite a bit on the DraftKings slate here. Decent returns. Top projected, because I know people like to see the top overall projected lineup, is I think it's that same one. I think the top projected, top raw projection was our top performer there, but it was Murray, Cole Anthony, Brandon Miller, Paolo Banchero, Dan Gafford, Dante Exum, Sadiq Bey, and Orlando Robinson. Kind of a straightforward build. Nothing all that surprising there, but you're estimated to have like a half a dupe. Had one dupe in the sim. Or is that just this one? No, that must just be this one lineup. So it's not a dupe, it's the individual. But a lot of reasonable other performers here as well in the same range. Fractions of a fantasy point. Let's jump to the FanDuel slate. Jake also loves Simons. No rim protection for Detroit. Small forward sucks too. Jalen Noel revenge spot. I'm glad you clarified that. I might have thought you were saying San Francisco sucks. It's almost how I read that until I saw the next line. Jalen Noel revenge spot at 45. Jake out on a limb today. As usual, FanDuel lineups just, on the surface, just kind of look better. We just get better names on FanDuel. But it's still all about how that math comes together in the end. Jalen Brunson in the top lineup, but doesn't look like he's landing in a lot of others, which makes sense. He wasn't really crashing through. I think he was at like a 3% win rate when we talked about him. Kyrie landing on a fair amount of these. I remember touching on Kyrie during that breakdown. Curious. So, we're seeing... That is interesting. It's a good amount of Kyrie Irving in a couple of these top lineups. Maybe I'm getting carried away. He's here. He's here. Maybe it's just that he's in these top two, I guess, that caught my attention. I thought I saw him a couple more times as I was opening that up. A little bit of Luka down here. All right, so I guess it's just that he trended way up in those two lineups. But he was just a 1% win rate guy. But again, that's when I talk about those luxury item type guys, right? Kyrie, a little bit below that right now in both price and performance, but let's use him as that example anyway. Or you could say, Luka over here, conceivably the same thing. Luka was at a... All right, that's a better example even. At 12.4, Luka is a 0.76% win rate on FanDuel. But we're talking about one of the top 10 lineups out of... however many thousand lineups this thing built. Presumably around 26,000 lineups in this pool. So those are the guys. That's what I mean when I say you can always go to those stars. It's just you have to get the performance from somebody who's a differentiated low-cost play in this lineup. In this one, Dante Exum might be playing that role. KBD is definitely one of the differentiated value guys there. And then you're getting Cam Johnson, right? So you're getting KBD and Cam Johnson instead of they're here. You are getting a decent amount of KBD, but like the lineup immediately above it is Draymond and Kawhi without Alperen Sengun. This one has KBD, Cam Johnson, Drew Eubanks, right? So you just get a wildly different lineup construction, but these guys do have the ability to help lineups climb the mountain for you. But this lineup, let's see, this lineup at 3.18% top one, 0.07% win probability. So good returns from that one. But then we didn't see Luka all that many times in a lot of these others. It's top 150 ownership. No, the other Luka. Thank you. So that is like the only lineup out of the top 150 that Luka's in. All right, does that make the point? Hopefully. A lot of DeJounte Murray on the board. Dinwiddie. Ugh. Some Booker. Fair amount of Booker. So it looks like FanDuel-wise, seems a little bit more balanced, I would say, if we have to put a label on it. All right, like a lot of Capella, Vooch, Goga through center. Good amount of Kawhi at one of the power forward spots. Sometimes trending into the small forward, but primarily looks like we're getting spend at power forward with Kawhi, with Wemby, with Draymond. Some KBD in there as a value play. Cam Johnson as a reasonably priced, decent upside play. Chetty and Kyle Kuzma, outlier at the top there. Small forward looks more a little bit of value, a little bit mid-rangey in some of these. Bojan and Nas Little, Kuz and Denny. Not a great combo there. Chetty and Kawhi, maybe not. Maybe it's more mid. So again, balanced kind of at the small forward. There's a Franz Wagner. Shooting guard, Booker Harris looks like 1-1. Gary Harris, Devin Booker, Dylan Brooks, Devin Booker, Gary Harris. Devin Booker, Gary Harris coming up quite a few times. Gary Harris, Bogdan. Kyrie, Paul George in this top one is interesting. That top lineup is a total outlier compared to like all these others. So weird. Jalen Brunson, Dennis Schroeder, Kyrie Irving, Paul George, Bojan, Nas Little, Chetty Osman, Kyle Kuzma, Clint Capella. The top performing lineup. Spends all your money. But it's just like as compared to, you get what I'm saying there, right? As compared to like the players who were in all these other lineups that it outperformed. But there's no other lineup as we scroll down that's going to be constructed along those lines necessarily. It's a weird little outlier that hit the top. You run this sim again, you can take that lineup and put it into another sim and it might underperform that result, but it would probably still have a reasonable return. Here's a Cam Thomas. Again, despite low probabilities, these guys are capable of hitting the board. Jimmy. He was a guy that was a little bit more on FanDuel. Here's an Embiid. So what we're not seeing in the very top is the star centers, right? There's an Embiid. There's one that uses Wemby in that spot. Some Jaren Jacksons. There's a lot of good mid-type centers. And then there's a lot of the center power forward onlys like Draymond Green, like Wemby going back and forth between the positions. But there's only one Embiid there. There's another Embiid. Haven't seen a Jokic so far. There's another Embiid. And Embiid was looking better than Jokic, so it makes sense. I wonder if Jokic got into the top 150. Looks like Jokic only probably got into one of those as well. So, interesting results. I just remembered I have to end this show, though, because it's 6:20. We are running out of time. Let me jump off, guys. I'm going to update the projections quickly, get everything up on the site, and then I'm going to build some lineups and hopefully win this tournament tonight. Good luck out there, gang. Somebody go win something. No shows over the weekend. I'm going to be out of pocket, so we're not going to have a football show this weekend. I was talking about that yesterday. Just down to my parents' house for my niece's recital for the Nutcracker. Playing 2 roles in the Nutcracker this year. Very proud of her and excited. But yeah, won't be able to squeeze in a football show, unfortunately. All the content, projections, all the usual stuff's going to be on the site. I'll make a point to put even more detail into the game-by-game notes and give you like a this is what I would have said type version. Like in the end of Clue, this is what might have happened. Daniel Gafford available tonight. That's good news at the end of the show. All right. With that in mind, I will catch up with you guys show-wise like Monday, but I'll be around over the weekend doing all the football content as usual. So see you later. Good luck out there. Somebody go win something.